Thank you for joining us for this lunchtime news broadcast where we catch up on the news-making headlines across Namibia and expanding to the rest of the continent and the globe. It is Wednesday and we have the following stories to keep you updated in this lunch hour. A little boy who disappeared in Luderitz, Spencer Mandela Nakale, missing for over 1 year. An online platform with over 220 secondary school textbooks now also available in Namibia. Namibia's State of National Address slated for 2 p.m. today. We also take a look at the news headlining today's daily newspapers, bring you sports news and international headlines. These and more coming up in today's broadcast. My name is Glenora Shipura and this is NMH at 1. In today's midday news update, the Home Affairs Ministry is introducing a formal power of attorney for all agents acting on behalf of clients submitting applications to the ministry. Now, the power of attorney will be effective from 19th April. The new power of attorney will improve service delivery, transparency, and protect clients, as the ministry has learned of agents taking undue advantage of clients who want to apply for national documents by charging exorbitant fees or falsely purporting to have connections in the ministry. We return with more news from across Namibia right after the break. Getting into our visual news from across the regions, Spencer Mandela Nakale has been missing for close to 18 months. His bereaved parents have not lost hope for answers, despite the anguish of not having him by their side. Here is the latest on this case, plus excerpts from an interview last year. This clip was prepared by Yana Marie Smith. Let's have a look.
Spencer Mandela Nakale vanished without a trace more than 1 year ago on 28 December 2020. That day changed the lives of his bereaved parents, Julia and Nelson, forever. The police's efforts to trace Nelson and to find out what happened to him have been fruitless. Heartbroken mother Julia recently confirmed to news outlets that she had consulted a South African psychic. The psychic, who published her findings on her Facebook page under Unsolved Cases hosted by psychic medium Diva, concluded that Nelson is no longer alive. A sketch she prepared of the alleged location of his body has been provided to the police. In an interview with Julia Nelson conducted late last year, the couple shared their anguish and their sincere wish for answers, but most of all for their son to come home. Here is a recap of that interview.
Since December, everything just went down. Like, I don't even know what is the meaning of life anymore.
Since that day, my life is no more. I'm no more the person I used to be. It really affects me emotionally. But I need to be strong so that I can fight until I see my boy again.
For those months, it's just, I feel empty inside. I'm just there filled with anger, pain, heartache, regret. That's all that has been going on.
I really miss him and I need him by my side.
Some days I feel like maybe he's still somewhere and one day he will come back. Other days, I don't know. I just feel like maybe this is the end of it, or I don't know.
I just wish to get a gift of me to see him again. That is all I wish. I wish to see him and hug him, because this thing cannot go on just like that. I still have a hope that one day I will meet him, because this I'm a Shivambo speaker. In Shivambo, they said omunu ihakana, means that the person can never disappear without any trace. We have to find him, because the kid does not only belong to a parent, like to a father and mother, but to the community and to the public also. Spencer is my boy, but he's also a Namibian. We must protect our people, our kids.
We do wish the family strength during these trying times. Now, an online platform that contains over 220 secondary school textbooks where learners can subscribe to is now also available in Namibia. The platform has a range of textbooks that covers Cambridge, AS levels, and the A-level syllabi. The subscription fee is based on the local buying power of learners. Boku Namibia representative Fourie van den Berg explains.
Are you also tired of buying expensive secondary textbooks for your child? Are you as a child also tired of carrying all those heavy books on your back to school? Or are you just tired because you can't find books? Because it's difficult nowadays to get access to all the textbooks for our Namibian curriculum, which is endorsed by Cambridge. Buku is the Netflix for books. You pay a monthly subscription and then you get access currently to more than 250 textbooks for grade 8 to 12 for the Namibian endorsed curriculum and also for the straight Cambridge curriculum. $100 Namibian per month, accessible on all devices, low internet needed. Once you've opened the book, you can read it offline or you can listen to the audio version. All the books have also audio versions. So it gives you access to all your books, your textbooks. So you don't have to suffer, you don't have to make photocopies, PDF it, email it to one another. So if you are interested, we have a team in Namibia that are willing to assist you, to help you how to become a member of Buku, grant you access, so that all your worries are away and you will have all the books you need for all your subjects on your phone, offline, for you to study. Let's become clever, intelligent young people in our country. But for that we need knowledge, and knowledge we find in books, but not in old school paper books anymore. Digital books is the way forward. We have them all at a low cost of only $100 million.
When we return, we'll be taking a sneak peek inside Namibia's daily print publications. But first, a quick ad break. Welcome back. We now take a look at our local newspapers. Now, the Namibian Sun reports that the Grootfontein municipality says it will not use the service of its currently contracted law firm in the matter against its CEO, who is accused of irregularly bringing it on board. On page 3 of the Namibian Sun, it is reported that Omusati Governor Eringinus Njala is warning Namibians to not hire and abuse Angolan immigrants who have returned seeking employment. The Republican reports that a desert-adapted lion who terrorized communities at Sesfontein and Poros for many years and captured large numbers of cattle, donkeys and goats was shot by a trophy hunter for 150,000 Namibian dollars. The Republican also reports that Namib says it is not bothered about the Belgian entity challenge as claim of 161 million Namibian dollars for the rental of an aircraft by Air Namibia, at the time a subsidiary of the National Railway state-owned company. Now, the Allgemeine Zeitung reports about why the German-Namibian Declaration of Intent on Recognition and Reparation was rejected after the genocide of Herero and Nama rejected. Now, there are several reasons, including no evidence of a sincere confession of the genocide. The Allgemeine Zeitung also reports that the government is obliged to publish the details of the award of a public contract. However, the government does not fulfill this duty when announcing the green hydrogen initiatives. Despite several inquiries, nothing is known about this. We return with more news from our newspapers right after the break. Welcome back. We continue delving into our local newspapers. Now, the Namibian reports that around 890 houses completed under the government's mass housing program have still not been handed over to beneficiaries 7 years after President Hage Geingob stopped the housing project. The Namibian also reports that Police Inspector General Sebastian Daitunga did not have the power to grant permission to a group of ex-combatants to exhume the remains of 9 People's Liberation Army of Namibia fighters in the Ohangwena region on Saturday. In the New Era, it is reported that President Hage Geingob will this afternoon deliver his annual State of the Nation address amidst escalating prices of consumer goods, rampant unemployment, and a struggling economy. In the New Era, it is also reported that leaders of the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters on Tuesday marched to the offices of Chita Cement outside Oshwarongo, calling for the removal of Chinese nationals allegedly working there without work permits. Finally, in economic news, according to the Market Watch, Namibians have the opportunity to apply for a subsidized loan at an interest rate of 5% per annum over 5 years to finance renewable energy technologies. Sticking with this economic news story, GIZ has availed about 5.2 million Namibian dollars to the Solar Revolving Fund for the new funding window. These and more stories from the world of economics when we return.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag payback the money.
Welcome back. In today's economic news, The Ministry of Mines and Energy, with the assistance of GIZ, yesterday launched the Green People's Energy Project to contribute to a universal and sustainable energy access for Namibians. The project is under the Solar Revolving Fund. The GIZ has provided financial assistance to the tune of about 5.2 million Namibian dollars to the fund, which will fund low-income individuals at a maximum funding of up to 20,000 Namibian dollars interest-free. Now, Namibians in general have the opportunity to apply for a subsidized loan at an interest rate of 5% per annum over 5 years to finance renewable energy technologies such as solar home systems, photovoltaic water pumps, and solar water heater. Now, the objective of the project is to strengthen the renewable energy sector with a focus on promoting off-grid electrification, especially in rural areas, but also for urban clients. Speaking at the launch, Cornelia Shilunga, Deputy Minister of Mines and Energy, notes that the new funding window includes low-income individuals, rural micro-enterprises and business owners that range from retail shops, bakeries, tailors, carpentry, farmers such as poultry, crop farming and other farming activities. Now, in our next story, while Namibia is increasing fuel pump prices, South Africa will reportedly sell millions of barrels of strategic crude oil reserves to the market, raising 6 billion rands. Now, these billions will be used to recoup the tax revenue it sacrificed to mitigate the impact of rising fuel prices. Now, according to an IOL news report, the sale of strategic oil reserves is the first since the government controversially sold 10 million barrels of oil reserves to private companies at heavily discounted prices between December 2015 and January 2016. Now, the SA government last week announced a temporary reduction in fuel prices to help struggling motorists amid another expected record hike in April. Now, Namibia's fuel prices as of this morning increased by 2 Namibian dollars 95 cents for diesel and 1 Namibian dollars 95 cents for petrol. Now, the government initially constructed the oil storage facility at Walvis Bay for these purposes, but the ministry last week said the facility was still insufficient for local demand. Let's have a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is up in value against the euro, pound and yuan, while maintaining its value in relation to the US dollar. Namibia Brewery stock prices are down by 0.01%, while these other stock prices remain the same. A decrease of 7.70% in Parato stock prices is observed, while Trasco Group Holdings stock prices are down 5.6%. Brent crude oil is up by 1.20%, now trading at $106.95. Gold is also up in value, while other commodities saw a fall in value. We return with news from Niger, where 25 migrants were rescued last week in the middle of the desert. Stick around for the full story. Welcome back. Let's take a look at news from across Africa. 25 Niger migrants, including women and children, abandoned by their driver, were rescued last week in the middle of the desert in northern Niger, the International Organization for Migration announced yesterday. Now, the migrants were rescued last weekend in the Sahara Desert by IOM and the Directorate of Civil Protection of Niger after they remained without food and water for 3 days before being found. Now, rescue operations for migrants are frequent in the hostile Nigerian desert, mainly in areas close to Libya, as many West African migrants try to cross through Libya to reach the Mediterranean coast and thus reach Europe. Now, according to authorities in Agadez, vehicles carrying migrants often break down in the desert or smugglers get lost, abandoning their passengers for fear of checkpoints or military patrols. Now, in our next story, several Gauteng roads and intersections will be affected by marches and protest action today. Now, the Forgotten Nation Over 35 Years March will be taking place on Wednesday, 6 April, in the city of Tshwane, affecting several intersections and streets. Temporary road closures are expected. Tshwane Metro Police urge motorists to avoid the intersection and streets along which the march will take place. Other groups will march against the exclusion of 35 years and older age groups for the job opportunities in government and private sectors. Other marchers will gather at the open space in Madiba Street and Kakhosi Mamporo Street at 9 a.m., from where they will make their way to the Department of Employment and Labor in Francis Bart Street. Now, officers have been deployed to monitor the area, but motorists should expect delays and are advised to exercise extreme caution. Now, the protesters are demanding the deployment of SAPS, SARS, and Home Affairs, and the addition of more visible policing in the area. Now, in our next story, a court in Burkina Faso will today hand down the long-awaited verdict in the prosecution of 14 men accused of assassinating revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara, crowning a 6-month trial marked by grim testimony and disrupted by a military coup. Now, revered among Pan-Africanist radicals, Sankara was an army captain, aged 33, when he came to power in a coup in 1983. He and 12 colleagues were gunned down by a hit squad on October 15, 1987, at a meeting of the ruling National Council Revolutionary Council. Now, the massacre coincided with a coup that took Sankara's erstwhile comrade Blaise Compaoré to power. We now move on to international news. Afghanistan has limited the rights of women, even when it comes to movement. We share the latest development on this when we return. Welcome back. We now take a look at our international news stories. Now, since taking over Afghanistan last year, the Taliban rulers have reintroduced draconian restrictions on freedoms and movements, particularly directed at women. Over the last few weeks, the Taliban leaders have announced many new restrictions, even as criticism and international pressure mounts against them. In December, the ministry, which replaced the Afghan Ministry of Women Affairs, imposed restrictions on women from traveling farther than 72 kilometers without a close male relative. This restriction was further expanded last week to include traveling abroad, and several solo women travelers were reportedly stopped from boarding flights. Similar bans were also introduced in several healthcare centers across the country, forbidding women to access healthcare without a mahram. Now, Taliban has reportedly instructed local taxi drivers in the Afghan cities against taking unaccompanied female passengers, or if they are not dressed in a proper hijab or headscarf as defined by the Taliban. Now, a number of other decrees issued in the last few weeks directed towards women have ordered hijab for women at workplaces, gender segregation in public parks, and continued closure of girls' high schools, which has triggered protests from Afghan women and elicited strong international criticism. Now, in our next story, the World Health Organization has warned that 99% of the world's population is breathing polluted air that exceeds internationally approved limits, with negative health impacts kicking in at a much lower levels than previously thought. Now, WHO said a record number of over 6,000 cities in 117 countries are now monitoring air quality, but the people living in them are still breathing unhealthy levels of fine particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide. Now, low and middle income countries suffer highest exposures. Now, the findings have prompted WHO to highlight the importance of curbing fossil fuel use and taking other tangible steps to reduce air pollution levels. Now, the WHO said World Health Day, marked on 7th April, will focus global attention on urgent actions needed to keep humans and the planet healthy and foster a movement to create societies focused on well-being. Now, Namibia's Police Force Sport and Recreation Department continues to promote sports by creating platforms where police staff members can showcase their talent. We get into local sports news, but first, let's take a look at the weather.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in one bundle. It's new, it's one bill, and you can stay connected in more than one location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at our local sports news. Namibian Police Force Sport and Recreation Department continues to promote sport by creating platforms where police staff members can showcase their talent. Nanampol's Fortune Ihab, who is part of the sports division, says there are several police games currently underway in regions before the big national games later on. Ihab also added that the police force is being represented by top boxers, footballers and athletes, which is great for their operations. Athletics Namibia President Erwin Nimwaka is optimistic that the future of athletics looks bright and hopes some of the athletes can develop into global sensation. Nimwaka has sang his praises to some of the athletes who competed at the Athletics Namibia Senior National Championship. He also hopes that those that have not met required times will keep improving. Irish A-side cricket tour to Namibia finished with a bang yesterday as the tourists managed to complete a 2-2 draw in the Castle Light one-day series, thanks to Gareth Delany's inspired man of the match performance with 104 runs and 5 wickets for 39. Ireland A achieved a 22-run win against Namibia A at the Wanderers Field. Now the tourists batted first and reached 252 over 7 with Mure Commons, Stephen Dohoney, Jeremy Lawler and captain Neil Rock contributing to Delany's century winnings that contained 4 fours and 8 sixes. Now, Kaizer Chiefs seems to be experiencing a lot of pressure lately. We expand more on this and other stories from the international sports scene after the break. Let's take a look at our international sports news. Kaizer Chiefs coach Stuart Baxter has likened the weight of expectation on his players to the pressures on the Stars who wear the England jersey. Chiefs' top start season continued on Tuesday when the club was held to a goalless draw by relegation-threatened TS Galaxy at the FNB Stadium. In our next story, Manchester City secured a 1-0 win over Atletico Madrid in the first leg of their UEFA Champions League quarter-final at the Etihad Stadium. City made 3 changes to the side that beat Burnley as Riyad Mahrez, Bernardo Silva and John Stones were all restored, while Atletico brought back Koke and Felipe. Mamelodi Sundowns co-coach Ruloni Mukwena has admitted that past results will have no influence in determining the outcome of their CAF Champions League quarter-finals contest against Angolan club Petro de Luanda. The draw against Petro is what Sundowns preferred, considering the distance to Luanda compared to all the other opponents they could have faced, who are far from North Africa. Do stay with us for highlights right after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
If you're just joining us, here are the highlights. Now, the Home Affairs Ministry is introducing a formal power of attorney for all agents acting on behalf of clients submitting applications to the ministry effective from 19th April. Now, the new power of attorney will improve service delivery, transparency, and protect clients as the ministry has learned of agents taking undue advantage of clients who want to apply for national documents by charging exorbitant fees or falsely purporting to have connections in the ministry. Now, 25 Niger migrants, including women and children abandoned by their driver, were rescued last week in the middle of the desert in northern Niger, the International Organization for Migration announced yesterday. Taliban rulers have reintroduced draconian restriction on freedoms and movements, particularly directed at women. Over the last few weeks, the Taliban leaders have announced many new restrictions, even as criticism and international pressure mounts against them. Namibian Police Force Sports and Recreation Department continues to promote sports by creating platforms where police staff members can showcase their talent. Nampol's Fortune Ihab, who is part of the sports division, says there are several police games currently underway in regions before the big national games later on. Ihab also added that the police force is being represented by top boxers, footballers and athletes, which is great for their operations. Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Glenora Shipura. Remember to tune in on Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond.